Hey guys, welcome to Hoop Chronicles, video number 1, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming NBA draft. Everybody knows who the number 1 pick is going to be, and one team's going to be very excited to land him. The NBA lottery is on Monday, and so we're going to talk about which 5 teams I think can benefit the most from landing the number 1 pick, and therefore getting Cooper Flagg. Here we go. Alright, so everybody knows who the number 1 pick is going to be this year. Cooper Flagg, freshman from Duke. He is a little bit younger than most of the freshmen in this class because he reclassified and came to Duke a year early. 6'9", 205 pounds from Maine. Take a second to just run over his stats. He played a little over 30 minutes a game, averaged 19.2, took 13 shots a game, shot about 48% from the field, 38% from 3, 7.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists. 4.2 assists. And when we look at his defensive numbers, this is what stands out the most to me. Almost 1.5 steals, 1.5 blocks. I believe that Cooper Flagg is one of the best off-ball shot blockers I've ever seen in my life. The way that he can come over, read, react, and help. I mean, his timing's incredible. I think that he's going to make a major defensive impact from the jump. And I think that a lot of the concerns around Cooper Flagg going into his freshman year was his lack of shooting ability because he's so well-rounded. He's pretty much good at everything. But I think as the season went along, the jumper came around. I mean, finishing at 38.5%. Pretty solid numbers, almost 50% from the floor. I was very impressed with his offense this year, and I think that's a super positive progression for him in year 1 at Duke, especially to be so young. So I think this is one of the best prospects that we've had in a long time. I wouldn't put him at a Victor Wembanyama level, but I would put him right there with the potentially Anthony Davis. Some people may disagree, say that's too much of a stretch. I think Cooper Flagg's got that level of potential. We know that his floor is insanely high. The defense, the rebounding, the way that he sees his teammates, moves the ball around. I mean, if the scoring can just be baseline, 15 to 20 points a game as a rookie, I think that there's only room for it to go up. We could have a world where Cooper Flagg is scoring 25, 30 points a game at some point in his career. But as of now, I think teams are just seeing that floor and being like, okay, this is a guy we can bring in, make an impact from day one. So now we're going to get into the top 5 teams that I believe would benefit the most from adding Cooper Flagg, and we're going to get started with number 5. So at number 5, we're going to go ahead and get started with the San Antonio Spurs. Now, I know this one's a bit of a long shot. You can see here on the screen, they only have a 6% chance at the number 1 overall pick. But when we talk about teams that could have an immediate bump from adding Cooper Flagg, this is one that stands out to me. Obviously, they already have De'Aaron Fox, Victor Wembanyama, that's your core. And they have some other young guys I'm really interested in. Obviously, Stephon Castle won Rookie of the Year this year, and I believe that he's got a really high ceiling. They have some other guys that, Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, and Jeremy Sohan. I'm not sure exactly what those guys are long-term, but I think they all can give you solid minutes. Chris Paul is a free agent this year, as you can see on the screen. Most of the Spurs guys are coming back for next year. Chris Paul is gone. Obviously, you do have Harrison Barnes back as a veteran presence who's played in a ton of games. So I think that can help you. And then, a couple other guys that I like. I did like Blake Wesley coming out of college. And, so when we look at their young core, I wouldn't say it's top tier, but I do think they have a pretty solid group of young guys. If they add Cooper Flagg, we're talking immediate impact. So next, we're going to look at the starting lineup projecting Cooper Flagg to be in it. So obviously you have De'Aaron Fox at the point, Stephon Castle at the 2. That's a great guard duo. And one of the things that I like about Cooper Flagg that we'll see as we go through this video is I think he can play the 3 or the 4 on the Spurs. I would project him to be a starting 3 right off the bat. Plug him in at the 3, Harrison Barnes at the 4, Victor Wembanyama at the 5, and then obviously Vassell, Sohan, Keldon Johnson coming off the bench. I think the thing that stands out about adding Cooper Flagg is the Spurs, in my opinion, would become one of the toughest defensive teams in the league. Obviously, Fox, not a great defender. Stephon Castle is locked down. Cooper Flagg can play all over. He can guard small. He can guard big. Whatever you need him to do. Like I said earlier, incredible shot blocker. Obviously, the best shot blocker we've potentially ever seen at center in Victor Wembanyama. I really, really like that core. I think that, 4 of your 5 starters here are long-term, really, really good options. Harrison Barnes, rotating with Sohan, potentially Vassell at the 4. I think that's not the worst place you could be in. Obviously, in the long run, I'm sure they would like to upgrade that spot. But if the Spurs are able to add Cooper Flagg, that's going to be a major boost to their team right off the bat. So in my opinion, number 5, San Antonio Spurs. At number 4, I'm going to go with the Utah Jazz. And I know what some of you guys might be thinking. Who cares about the Jazz? What would this do for them? They're a hopeless franchise. Honestly, you might not be wrong, but at the end of the day, the Jazz have put together a pretty solid group of young talent over the last 4 or 5 years in the draft, and so I think it would be very interesting to see Cooper Flagg be added to that team. When we look here at their contracts, the Jazz actually don't have a single guy that's projected to be gone for next year. John Collins does have a player option. There's a couple guys with team options, so you could have some turnover in the roster, potentially a trade or two, but I think at the end of the day, pretty similar roster to what we've seen last year. And I do like some of the guys on this team, especially some of the young guards. So let's go ahead and take a look at the starting 5, adding Cooper Flagg in. So at point guard, I know some people may disagree with this. Some people may say Colin Sexton's your starting 1. I think from what we saw at Isaiah Collier as a rookie, I like him in that spot. And I think in the long term, I would like to see Isaiah Collier get more run. Keontae George at the 2. He's not the best, but he does have some scoring pop, and I would like to see that develop. So I would keep giving him minutes. This is a team where I would plug Cooper Flagg in at the 3. Lauri Markkanen at the 4 gives you that shooting. Walker Kessler at the 5 to lock down the paint. Does this lineup have a ton of shooting overall? Not really. They would be pretty reliant on Keontae George, Lauri Markkanen, and Cooper Flagg to give them most of their shooting. Off the bench, though, you do have some solid veterans. John Collins, not my favorite player in the NBA, to be honest, but, he'll get a cool dunk. He'll play a lot. I think that's a guy I would get rid of if I was the Jazz. Colin Sexton obviously has been there for a while. Very hit or miss in my opinion, but as a bench guard, you could do worse. Jordan Clarkson, career Jazz guy, just out there throwing up shots for the last however many years. Again, I don't think once their team starts to come around and win, if that's going to happen again, I don't think I would want Clarkson on the team. But for now, another solid bench option. So at the end of the day, what do I think Cooper Flagg would add to this team? It's a superstar. Lauri Markkanen's a good player, but he's not the best player on a winning team. He could be a good number 2 option, and I think him and Flagg together, that gives you a duo that you could try to build around. Like I said, the guards, they're interesting. I'm not sure what they're going to be long-term, but it would be interesting to see Cooper, Lauri, and then this guard rotation with everybody I mentioned. Walker Kessler, I'm a big fan of. He's limited in his ceiling, but his floor is pretty high. Block shots, hold down the paint, dunk it. I think Cooper Flagg and him would work well together defending the rim. So I think at the end of the day, is this a move that gets the Jazz into the playoffs next year? Adding Cooper Flagg? Probably not. But in the long term, gives you the franchise player, gives you your face of the league or face of the team. So, at the end of the day, this could be a very positive move for them, and they desperately need it. So that's why I have the Utah Jazz at number 4. So at number 3, I have the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans were awful this year. Everybody knows that. I don't think anybody knows why they were as bad as they were. They have so much talent, so many guys that I think everybody likes, but things just fell apart. There was a lot of injuries, but I still don't think that they should have been as bad as they were, even with those injuries. But when we look at their contracts here, they're not projected to lose a lot. Bruce Brown's gone. I don't really think that hurts you. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl also projected to be gone. I mean, you could re-sign him for cheap. I don't really think you're losing a ton if you don't. And then everybody else is locked up through next year. They are paying a lot of money to Zion, CJ, DeJounte, and then Trey Murphy, like a whole lot of money, especially that CJ McCollum contract. 30.6 is a lot of money for CJ McCollum. So I don't love the way the contracts look. DeJounte obviously coming off a really, really bad injury with the Achilles. I don't know what the plan is with those 2 guards, but they do have a talented team. So let's go ahead and look. If they land, and I forgot to mention, 12.5% chance to land the number 1 overall pick. So now let's take a look at their projected lineup with Cooper Flagg added in. Again, this is a team I could see Cooper Flagg plugging in at the 3, 4. I have DeJounte Murray listed as your starting point guard. I don't know if he's going to be ready. I don't know what the timeline on that's going to be. So we could definitely, see a different guy out there at the 1, depending on if DeJounte's ready at the beginning of the season and when he's available to come back. At the 2, I actually have Trey Murphy. I think that Trey Murphy's shooting and his size can, allow him to play the 2. He's a good defender. I think there's going to be some matchups where maybe him guarding really small shooting guards. I'm not sure how great that'll go, but I like Trey Murphy. I think he can make it work. With this team, they just have a lot of big guys, so I think you got to plug somebody in at the 2. And I think I'm just sick and tired of seeing CJ McCollum out there doing what CJ McCollum does. The contract, everything, CJ McCollum could end up being your starting shooting guard. I would rather just see Trey Murphy out there and go with this big lineup. Cooper Flagg plugging in at the 3, Zion at the 4. Obviously, with Zion Williamson, you're never going to have a consistent starting lineup because you don't know if Zion's going to play 20 games, 40 games, or 6 games. So Zion plugging in at the 4. Obviously, all this gets shuffled around if Zion gets hurt. Yves Missi at the 5. I think he had a really good rookie year. Because the Pelicans were so bad, I don't think anybody was paying attention. I really like Yves Missi coming out of Baylor last year, and I like him as a long-term starting 5. Very athletic, shot blocker, can really go up and get the ball off alley-oops and everything like that. I love the defensive potential of this lineup. Cooper Flagg, Trey Murphy, Yves Missi, and Zion, it's just really when he wants to try, depending on how heavy he is and how much he's working on his body as the season goes along. We all know we're going to get a different version of Zion depending on the month, but if Zion's locked in, I like this 2 through 5. I would like to say that I like this starting 5 in total, but DeJounte, nobody really knows what that's going to look like coming off the injury. But overall, McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, Jose Alvarado coming off the bench, 3 decent veterans. Kelly Olynyk did play quite a bit for him last year. Alvarado's obviously that energy guy. What do I think Cooper Flagg adds to this team? Again, it might just be a star for whatever they decide to do with Zion Williamson. Because if you add Cooper Flagg, then you gain a little bit of leverage in the Zion situation where you're not trading away the face of your franchise if you decide you've had enough of this whole charade of I'm going to get in shape. Oh, now I'm big again. If people decide, or if the Pelicans decide they don't want to be a part of that anymore, trade Zion. Well, Cooper Flagg's the face of your franchise, so the fan base is not going to be that upset about it. Build everything around Cooper. I don't think we're going to have the injury and durability issues that Zion had with Cooper Flagg. Obviously, he did have the injury towards the end of the season with Duke. I think that man's got to figure out how to not slip and slide every time he goes into the paint. I don't know if he needs new shoes or what the deal is. People said it's because he sweats a lot. I think Cooper Flagg just needs to stop falling down, and he probably won't get hurt as much. So at the end of the day, add Cooper Flagg in with Zion. That would be really exciting. Or if you decide you want to ship Zion off, you can plug Flagg right in. It's your best player. So that's why I have the New Orleans Pelicans at number 3. Number 2, no one is going to like this. I know that because people don't like Philly. But I do have the 76ers at number 2. So let's take a look at their contracts. Joel Embiid making big money next year. Obviously, we have no idea what's going to come out of that. Paul George also making really big money, and he looked terrible this year. Tyrese Maxey, I believe, on paper, might be your best player, depending on what you're getting out of Embiid next year. Oubre has a player option. Drummond has a player option. Eric Gordon has a player option. I would expect all 3 of those to opt in. Oubre could opt out and try to go to free agency, but I would say there's a good chance he's back with Philly. Quentin Grimes is gone. I don't know if they're going to try to re-sign him because he did have some really positive moments down the stretch. And Kyle Lowry's gone. I think you let him walk. There's a chance Kyle Lowry might retire. He is definitely getting up there. 10.5% odds to land the number 1 overall pick. They need it because they have traded it, and I believe this is top 3 protected, their pick. So they definitely need to land high if they want to keep that pick. So let's look at their projected starting 5 with Cooper Flagg factored in. So at the 1, we have Tyrese Maxey, obviously. At the 2, I've got Jared McCain. Got hurt pretty early in the season, but I think we saw some really positive things out of him as a rookie. Could have been on pace to win Rookie of the Year if he didn't get injured. I think you're risking it a little bit defensively, having the 2 small guards, but the scoring punch you can get out of those guys, I think it'll work. Cooper Flagg at the 3. and then Paul George at the 4, Joel Embiid at the 5. The Sixers, it's hard to say what their ceiling is going to be for next year, even if they do add Flag, because we don't know what Paul George and Joel Embiid are going to be health-wise or production-wise. But I love Cooper Flag as your next face of the franchise. Similarly to what I was saying about the Pelicans with Zion, Flag gives you leverage. Embiid obviously has been the face of Philly for a long time. Embiid's also missed just about as many or maybe more games than he's actually played. So Philly fans, they love him, but also at some point, when does it get old? When does the front office say, hey, we can't do this anymore, and just start taking any bid they can get for Joel Embiid? And at the end of the day, add Cooper Flag in there. It makes it a little less brutal when you trade away Embiid. And the Paul George failed signing, from how it looks so far, is, not as bad on paper if you add Cooper Flag in to take some of that offensive load. I think that this is a situation where Flag does make them, a playoff team. Obviously, they're going to be a lot better than they were last year. If your two main stars and Flag and McCain and Maxey are all healthy, it's a pretty good starting 5. Like I said, Oubre, Drummond, Gordon, we don't know what the situation is going to be with those guys coming back. But if they all are back, I think that that's 3 solid veterans off the bench. I don't think that we're looking at Philly as a top 4 seed in the East or anything like that, but I think there is a realistic possibility that with this lineup, they'll make the play-in, end up getting a 7 or an 8 seed. There's even an opportunity for them to go and get a 6 seed if things are go well for them health-wise. So I think that adding Cooper Flag in would be pretty exciting for Philly, and that's why I have them at number 2 on my list. All right, here we go. Number 1 team that I think could benefit the most from adding Cooper Flag, the Washington Wizards. This is actually the team that I really hope ends up with the first overall pick, because over the last couple years, I like what they've done. I like the group they put together, and I would be really interested to see Cooper Flag added into that. So let's go ahead and look at their contracts. Malcolm Brogdon is a free agent. I think we're fine letting him walk out the door. Marcus Smart's back for 1 more year. Pretty big contract, not awful. Marcus Smart barely played last season, so I don't really know what to expect out of him. Obviously, we saw some pretty good things out of him in Boston. Not really much in Memphis, and really nothing with Washington, so I don't really know what we'll get out of Marcus Smart next year, but he is back. All the young guys are projected to come back. Coulibaly does have a team option. Obviously, they're going to pick that up with the positive signs he's shown. Chris Middleton has a player option. Money's so high, he's going to accept it. Don't really know what we're going to get out of Middleton either with his health. Obviously, championship player, so he could end up playing, but they have a 14% odds to land the number 1 overall pick, so they're also in that top 3, just like Utah. This is the team I would really like to see them land Cooper Flag, so let's go ahead and look at their starting 5 with Cooper Flag projected in. So this is a team that I would actually see putting Cooper Flag at the 4 instead of the 3. So at the 1, we have Bub Carrington. I love Bub. He's a beast. He's such a good scorer. I think he's going to be a great player, have a really long career. Jordan Poole at the 2. Jordan Poole is Jordan Poole. He does his thing. You're going to have great games. You're going to have some of the worst games you've ever seen, but he's exciting. I don't know long term if that's really a guy you want to keep around when you're going to try to start winning again. But for now, it'll work. At the 3, Bilal Coulibaly. Love this dude. I think he's got pop. He's got athleticism. And I've seen, progression from rookie year to now. I think he's just going to keep getting better. I think at 6'8", he can play the 3. And that's why I would put Cooper Flag 6'9" at the 4. Those two give you some good size, good defense. And then Alex Sarr at the 5. Obviously very athletic. I love that starting 5. I mean, just looking at it on paper, Bub, Poole, you got your shot creation, Coulibaly and Flag. They give you defense. I think you're going to get some offense out of Coulibaly. And obviously if Flag pops and can hit some shots right off the bat, get to the basket, that's some more scoring there. Sarr's going to keep figuring it out. I think he had a pretty big adjustment coming into the NBA and learning how to play the 5. But I've seen a lot of potential out of him, and I think that as time goes, we're going to see him get better and better. Off the bench, I love Corey Kispert, great shooter. Also, really big fan of Keyshawn George out of Miami from last year. I thought that was a great draft pick by them. And then third guy I've got listed here, over Middleton and over Marcus Smart, is actually A.J. Johnson. I think the Bucks messed up. Trading, I don't think they're hurting that bad because they lost Middleton considering his health. But getting rid of a young guy like AJ Johnson, I think it was one of the only young guys with potential on the Bucks last year for one of the guys that I think is terrible in Kyle Kuzma. I like AJ Johnson. Down the stretch, he showed some great potential. Can't remember who they were playing, but there was one game I watched where he basically carried them to a win down the stretch with a bunch of big plays, huge dunk, huge three. I like AJ Johnson. Obviously, on paper, you're probably going to get more production out of Middleton and out of Smart if those guys are healthy. But when we're looking at the projected long-term lineup for this team, I like AJ Johnson. I think he's got to be mentioned when we're talking about it. So at the end of the day, what does Cooper Flagg give this team? Again, it's the face of your franchise. You add Cooper Flagg in with all these other guys, and I think you're looking at a situation like what we've seen from Oklahoma City, what we've seen out of Houston, what we've seen out of Indiana, what we've seen out of Detroit, where this team can continue to build as a group. And a couple years from now, would it shock anybody if Washington's back in the playoffs? Maybe it would. Maybe you disagree with me. I think that they would have the roster with Cooper Flagg to make a push to be in the playoffs. Is it next year? Probably not. 2 to 3 years from now, I think they can get there. And as time passes, you get off the Smart contract, you get off the Middleton contract, you're going to have an opportunity to add more guys to complement your young core. The same way that we saw Detroit do this year with Tim Hardaway, Tobias Harris. I think that, they did a really good job there putting those veteran presences around the young guys. So I think that we could see Washington do that. Obviously, they've not been a free agent destination, for a long time. Bradley Beal just camped out there and took his money while the team was terrible pretty much every year after John Wall fell off. But I do think that if they get a young core that starts winning, I think you can start to attract guys. So that's why I have them as number one. I'm really excited for the lottery coming up on Monday. Let me know in the comments who you guys would like to see get the number one overall pick and which teams you think would, be impacted, the most by adding Cooper Flagg. To me, Washington's number one, but I think that all 5 of these teams are looking really good. All right, guys. So thank you all for listening. This is my first video ever, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be back with more content soon. Hopefully a little bit more concise on these videos. I know I rambled a little bit today, but I'm going to try to cut that down in the future. Let's go ahead and look at a recap of everything that I talked about. So here's the 5 teams that I listed off. Let me know if you guys agree. Let me know if you disagree, what you think I said that sounded smart, what you think I said that sounded pretty dumb. I would appreciate any comments and feedback down there. Please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. There's going to be more content coming soon. Going to keep getting better video after video, but I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thanks for taking the time to listen, and you guys all have a good day.